coming up on the Sell Your Book podcast.
Kids, don't try this at home. Let me break down. Hold on. Let me break down why this worked for Miss Bridgett, okay? Because it's easy to be like, oh, she did no. She wrote her book over years, to be really honest. She had a library of content. Do you have a library of content? Okay, if you have a library of content, then yes, you can focus within a couple of weeks and get a book done.
I'm glad that you make that point, Denise Renee, because yes, I try to wow the crowd by saying, oh, I got this done in a matter of weeks. But it was because I had years, for 3 years, I had been blogging and writing newsletters and articles and so on. As you think about, well, yeah, I've got content, but it wasn't written with a book in mind. I was not writing with a book in mind. What I did was I like I said, I combed through and I pulled the best of the best. Go through, look and see what it is your network loves. You can take video, you can take audio, you create the transcripts, right? You've got all kinds of content out there. Pull it together, figure it out, get it done.
Welcome to Sell Your Book. It's the podcast for existing or aspiring self-published business book authors who want to know what's working right now to help you sell more books, get more clients from your books, and expand your opportunities. If this is your vibe, you gotta subscribe. Now, let's get into today's conversation.
Welcome to this episode of Sell Your Books. And y'all, I am really excited to have our guest that we have on today. I have Mrs. Bridgett McGowen. You know what? This is my fault because I have her married. I came across her married name and I had it and I didn't put it in my notes. So charge it to my head, not my heart. Nevertheless, we have Bridgett McGowen with us today. Now, Bridgett, okay, so first of all, this is what we finna do, right? This is number one. Number two, because we're going to get it all right. Bridgett McGowen is an award-winning international professional speaker, okay? Now, how has she won these awards, you may ask? Because Bridgett fully engages and energizes audience. They do not receive a typical sit-down workshop or webinar experience. They stand up, they shout, they laugh, and they learn how to use their voices to increase sales, improve marketing, and impact lives. Bridgett's experience as a corporate trainer, keynote speaker, and workshop clinician has allowed her to work with teams of trainers, educators, sales leaders, and marketing experts. Now, as an author, get ready for the list, okay? Get ready for the list. As an author, Bridgett has numerous titles to her credit. She has Show Up and Show Out, 52 Communication Habits to Make You Even More Unforgettable, Redesign Your 9 to 5, advice and strategies from 50 of the world's most ambitious business owners and entrepreneurs, Rise and Sizzle. Honey, that title, Rise and Sizzle. Rise and Sizzle, daily communication and presentation strategies for sales, business, and higher ed pros. Own the Microphone, how 50 of the world's best professional speakers launch their careers and how you can too. And Real Talk, what other experts won't tell you about how to make presentations that sizzle. Now, we got to talk about Real Talk for a second because it has won several awards. So not only is she an award winner for her speaking, the books won awards too. Okay, did you clock that? Okay, so Real Talk has won a 2020 Best Indie Book Award in the Nonfiction Business category, Nonfiction Business and Communication category, a 2020 Next Generation Indie Book Award finalist, and a 2023 Silver Book Fest Award in the Business Communication category. And she's got some other compilation books under her belt. We're not going to go on, but you know what? You're going to go to her website and you're going to catch it all. So after a very intriguing experience, Bridgett founded her publishing company, Press 49. And she also hosts a podcast called Own the Microphone. Yes, that was one of the titles of her book. So, you know what? After such an illustrious introduction, I am so happy to have Miss Bridgett McGowen with us. How are you, Bridgett?
I am fantastic, Denise. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have a conversation about books and money and speaking and all the things I love.
Yeah, girl, all of the things. Okay, that is my phrase. All of the things. So first I'm going to tell people how we got here because I think it's hilarious, but I think it's beautiful. And I think it's the power of networking and the power of LinkedIn. So I was just, scrolling along on LinkedIn, doing my little thing. And I cannot remember whose post it was, but you had made a comment on a post. And I was like, wow, that was, pretty insightful. And I responded back to the post. And then you responded back to me. And I was like, well, who is this person? And so I clicked on the profile. And I said, okay, well, I would love to talk to Miss Bridgett. And she said, yes. So here we are. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for extending the invitation.
Not a problem. So I could fangirl all afternoon, but we're not going to do that. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how you got into, I know you had some time in corporate America, and how you were able to transition out of that into speaking and giving presentations. And then we'll get into how it led you into your book journey, and we'll dig into that and all of the things.
All the things, without a doubt. Well, it started, Denise Renee, with me getting laid off. And when you look at the statistics, every time you turn around, especially when we had that crazy economic downturn back in 08, 09, right? We all looking around trying to figure out how we're going to put gas in the tank and food on the table. And then when we went through the pandemic in 2020, all kinds of craziness was happening. Well, what had happened for me, the layoff, was back in 2016. The previous year, I was in corporate America. My entire team got disbanded. The company kept 4 of us. I was one of the 4 that they kept. They gave us new job titles, new job descriptions, a new manager, new responsibilities. But then 9 months later, in April of 2016, I was laid off along with those other team members, as well as that manager who had been a VP at the company for I don't know how long. And she had been with the company for something like 12 years. Now, Denise, I had been a professional speaker since 2001. So by 2016, when I got laid off, I had already done tons of presentations, either for that company in corporate America or just on my own. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to give this a whirl. I'm going to become a full-time professional speaker, and let's see what happens from there. And the rest is history.
So what types of presentations did you do? And actually, I'm asking this in the reverse. What was your role within corporate America? What was your industry? And then what types of presentations had you been doing?
Sure. Well, my background is in education, actually. I taught for Prairie View A&M University, a part of the Texas A&M University system in the Houston area. Prairie View A&M is located actually in Prairie View, Texas. So I taught there for a number of years, from 02 until 09, I believe. And then I also taught for a community college in the Houston area. Plus, I taught online for University of Phoenix. So when I went into corporate America, I went in as a faculty development consultant. All that means is it was a fancy title or fancy name for what I did, which was I would tell people I teach professors how to teach. I was on this incredible team of other educators and other former deans and department heads and so on, where we had backgrounds in higher ed. And what we did was we traveled the country. And we would do workshops on campuses of universities and community colleges and tech schools and so on in the post-secondary arena. We did these faculty development workshops, which essentially was just professors are experts in their disciplines, but they're not necessarily experts in how to teach, right? So we would do these sessions on how do you engage the millennial learner in an 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday freshman composition course or whatever, right? And that's what I did in corporate America. So as you can imagine, tons of presentations, tons of traveling, a lot of webinars, a lot of virtual sessions, and so on. So that's what I did. And then my topic that I spoke on, what it all boiled down to, Denise, was great presentation skills. That's what I learned when I was doing these faculty development sessions. It was a matter of how do you get in front of a room, grab your audience's attention right away, and give them a reason to listen to you for the next 20, 50, however many minutes. And so in corporate America, one of the vice presidents at that company where I was that faculty development consultant, he saw me present at a conference and he just said, Bridgett, I need you to present to our sales reps. I need you to present to our district managers. I was on this crazy road tour, Denise, where I was doing these trainings on presentation skills because that's what he saw. It was a session on whatever. I don't remember the topic. Active learning in the 21st century college classroom, whatever. But he saw the bigger umbrella of this all fell under how do you deliver great presentations? So that became my thing, where that is what people come to me for. How do you deliver great presentations, whether you're a sales rep, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in HR, whether you're in learning and development, you're doing trainings, you're doing sales calls. How do you make sure that people are picking up what you're putting down when you present?
That part, because I mean, you said so much and I can go in so many different directions, but I myself have a background in education, not higher education, but secondary. And it is challenging to get those kids first thing in the morning. They're like, they don't want to be here. And how do you get them engaged? How do you keep them engaged? And as really adults are really just big kids. So how do you give those amazing, engaging presentations? And I mean, anyone looking through your website and looking through some of your clips, I mean, your presentations are pretty dynamic. And I'm like, thank you. We know how to do this. Yes, we do. So you said in 2016, you got the wonderful welcome to the business world. So you're saying that you took your experiences that you were already doing and now you decided to package it for yourself. So how did you get started getting those first, consulting gigs to get your own speaking engagements? Or was that something you were already doing while you were working for the corporation?
Right. So Denise Renee, I've been a professional speaker since 2001, but I was not putting myself out there as this paid professional speaker. So I was going to conferences, I was getting invited to deliver commencement addresses and so on and so forth. So how I ended up starting the business was, I didn't know what in the world I was doing. Okay. So it was because a really good friend of mine who is the wife of a former colleague of mine in corporate America. She had seen me present and so on and so forth. We became friends while I was in corporate America. She said, Bridgett, you need to start your own business. When I got laid off, her husband got laid off too. And she had already been in business. I don't know how long at that point. I don't know. This was 2016. I mean, I'm thinking probably at least 10 years at that point. Maybe longer. So she said, you need to start your own business. I'm telling you, Denise Renee, I did not know what I was doing. I didn't know the difference between an LLC and a URL, right? I'm just trying to figure this out. And yes, I had gotten some paid speaking engagements, on my own or whatever, but it wasn't because of me holding myself out as someone who was looking for paid gigs. It just happened. But then once I got that pink slip, in 2016, to answer your question, how did I get started as my own business owner? I started holding myself out as a professional speaker in search of paid opportunities. That was what I did. I had thousands of connections on LinkedIn, and they knew me as having this higher ed background and working in corporate America, delivering all these presentations and such, but they did not necessarily know me as a full-time professional speaker. So that was step one, letting the world know. It was okay that I had not had a professional photo shoot yet. I had not written a book yet. I did not have some amazing, glossy, gorgeous website or anything like that. What was important was letting the world know that is what you're now doing and what kinds of opportunities you're looking for. And then you just put the pedal to the metal, all gas, no brakes.
I love it. I had a similar kind of experience, although it was a bumpier transition when because I went from college, my double major was in English and music, and then I went straight into an 11-month master's program in teaching. Then I went straight into the classroom in New York City and hated it. It wasn't the kids. Kids are crazy, but kids are gonna kid, right? They're gonna do what they do. It was just the administrative craziness. And so I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. And I had a little bit of a tough time just like figuring out, okay, I've been trained to be an educator. What am I gonna do with this? So my transition was bumpy, but I love how you said for right now, and especially now. I mean, at the time that I made that transition, LinkedIn didn't exist. But now, when you have a whole bunch of connections, I love how you're just saying, you know what? It's just throw yourself out there, all gas, no brakes. I love it. So, how like quickly did those first couple of paid gigs come in for you?
Real talk. I was laid off in early April. My last day on the job was mid-April, and I landed my first paid gig shortly thereafter. I remember the presentation itself was in August. So about 4 months after leaving corporate America, I had my first paid gig. And let me tell you how it happened. I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. In putting myself out there, one of my sorority sisters, her husband at the time, said, "Hey, Bridgett, you need to check out Thumbtack." And it's an app, it's this website where freelancers can post their services. And so I did that. And LifeLock LifeLock was looking for a speaker for XYZ program they had coming up. And one of the coordinators of the program happened to see my profile on Thumbtack. And they reached out to me. And they said, "Well, you seem pretty cool. We looked at some of your videos. You've got this higher ed background. Can you present on XYZ?" I said, "How about we do this?
Yes.
Tell me what you want your audience to know or to be able to do. What I will do is, in X number of days, let's schedule another time to meet. I will present for you how exactly I would start the session. And if within the first 5 minutes of that presentation, you're not wowed, you're not blown away, we can part ways and there will be no hard feelings." I didn't even have to present 5 minutes, Denise Renee. They were like, "Sold, sign, where do we sign? Where do we pay your deposit?" So to answer your question, I think LifeLock reached out to me maybe in late June or so, maybe. And then the actual presentation was in mid to late August of 2016. So we'll say maybe within a couple of months, 3 months max, I had landed that gig, and then I was presenting it about 4.5 months after getting laid off. But it was a matter of putting myself out there. If the sorority sister's husband had not known that I'm now this full-time professional speaker and had not then shared with me about getting on Thumbtack, yeah.
I think that's definitely a testament to the power of networking. And sometimes people feel like networking has to be this like it factor, but it really doesn't. And it's really about who do you know, who knows what who you are and what you do. And whereas that immediate person may not be, your client or so, they may have a connection to someone that you don't know, or they may tell you, "Hey, do this." And that's the thing that helps get you moving. So I love that. So from there, where did things go, and how did you get into writing your first book? And of the list, okay, the list, which one? I wasn't sure. I think I'm sure, but I don't want to,
hilarious.
Speak it. I'm like, which of them was the first one? So
The first one was Real Talk. And I'll tell you what happened after that. So after LifeLock, I made sure I got great reviews and recommendations. So what's golden or platinum to a professional speaker is not only the videos of them speaking, but also the recommendations of people who have seen them speak or who have hired them. So I was very careful about making sure LifeLock gave me a glowing review. And then I just continued to put myself out there. I would attend conferences where my ideal client was in the audience. That is incredibly important because yes, You may not get paid to speak at that conference. However, if that conference has the type of person you're looking for to hire you in the audience, the conference has done your hard work and assembled your peeps. Get yourself there, deliver a great presentation, and then make sure you have a very clear call to action that can lead to setting up a call, having a conversation afterwards, and so on. So it just took off from there, and just doing all the things that professional speakers know to do, continuing to post online, continuing to hold yourself out as a professional speaker, talking about what it is you do and the difference that you make with an audience. They don't care about all of your accolades. They don't care about where you've been or what you've done. What is the brilliance? What is the inspiration? What is the excitement you're going to bring to their event? Share that with them. Also have a very clear plan for reaching out to prospects. And we have this whole system at BMH Companies and Press 49 for getting me booked. But speaking of booked, the first book was Real Talk. What other experts won't tell you about how to make presentations that sizzle. It just made sense because that was my jam, presentation skills. Now, the whole story is all behind what I was talking about earlier. Presenting at conferences. I was getting ready to present at a conference, Denise Renee. They asked, do you have a book to sell in the bookstore? Now, this was in 2019. And it was a conference where there's going to be, more than 10,000 people there. I'm going to lean towards maybe 13, 14,000 people. Oprah was also one of the speakers. And here's what I thought.
Wait. I'm sorry. All right, just heard it.
Yes, I'm name dropping, right? And so I thought I can have my book available at the same conference in the same bookstore where Oprah's books are also going to be sold. It's a done deal. Now, let me tell you, it's insane, Denise Renee, how I went about this. This was mid-March of 2019. The conference was taking place in about 2 months, in early to mid-May. I had to have the book done very soon. 2 months. I had that book done. It was mid-March when we confirmed me and everything. The book was done and published on April 9th of 2019. I got that book done in a matter of weeks, not a month, weeks. This is how I did it. I had been blogging. I had been writing LinkedIn articles. I had been creating content for clients. So I had a lot of content. I had tens of thousands of words. So what I did was I sorted through all of that content, found the best of the best. I found the editors, the typesetters, the graphic designers, the cover designer. I figured out all the things. I figured out, where do you get an ISBN from? What's this Library of Congress control number business? I just figured it all out. I only got 1 or 2 hours of sleep each night, as you can imagine. And so by the time the conference rolled around, the book was done. I was ready to rock and roll. So that was the first book. And it did, like you indicated in the introduction, it won an award. It's now in its second edition, and it's won additional awards since then.
Now, y'all, I done read this on her website, but I really wanted to finish telling the story because there's more to the story. So what happened? What happened when you got there and you put your books in the store? Huh? Tell us.
So I get to the conference. I deliver my presentation. Everybody's happy. They're whatever, pleased. Several people run out of the room. A lot of people hang back. And you know how that goes when you go to a conference. You enjoy the speaker. You want to talk more. You want to ask more questions. So as I'm having these conversations, I see people trickling back into the room, Denise Renee. And I'm thinking to myself, what are they coming back for? I have nothing left to give. As Claire Huxtable would say, I have nothing left to give, people. You got all that I have to offer today.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So as they're coming back in and they line up, what you want? They said, Bridgett, your book's not in the bookstore. Go exactly, do the hand and everything. I go left because I knew what I'd gone through to get the book in the store, and how I'm up and I'm researching and I'm figuring all this out. And I had to get the book to the conference at a certain date and so on and so forth. I said, the book is in the store. I don't know what you're talking about. I even went to the bookstore the minute I got off the plane yesterday to confirm it was in there. Then today, before I came to my presentation room, I went to the bookstore again and I took a selfie with the book in the background. The book is there. You need to go back. You need to check again. You need to do something. And they said, shh, Bridgett, calm down. The book was there. It was sold out. Right. You had a 10. We need you to bring it down to about a 7. The book was there. It sold out. We were coming to see if you had any extra copies on you and could sell them to us. And that's
so
what
how many did you put in the bookstore?
What was that?
How many did you put in the bookstore?
I can't remember if it was 25 or 50.
So it was the people who were in the presentation, they went out, got it, and then it was gone.
Right. So in the room, we had, I'm going to lean toward maybe 400, 500 people. And so it was like, based on that, that is my idea of how many books will sell. I want to lean toward it was 50, because now I plan for about 10% of the audience is going to buy my book. So I think it was 50 copies that were in the bookstore. And then I think I brought maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 copies with me. However many copies I brought with me, they were gone. They ended up selling as well. And then that's when it hit me. I had been a professional speaker for 18 years at that point. This was 2019, and I had been speaking since 2001 without a book. And I thought, how many opportunities have I missed out on? How many times have people said, I wish I could take a book?
All right, real quick, we need to talk about something, because every time you go to a conference, attend an online summit, or you're listening to a podcast, you're being taught by somebody who wrote a book, and it's working your nerves because you need to write a book too, because you're missing out on these brand building and money making opportunities. Maybe you haven't written your book yet because you don't know what topic to write about, or you don't know how to structure your book in a way that positions you as an expert. You may not even be sure exactly how you're supposed to be getting clients from your book. No worries, because I got you. Download my free 4 Steps to Book Writing Success, and it's going to give you the solutions to the book writing problems you have and help you think through other issues you didn't even know you needed to. Head over to writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 steps. That's writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 and the word steps, no spaces. Let me help you get started writing your life-changing and business-changing book right now. I mean it. Hit pause and go to writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 steps, download it for free, then come on back. Hit unpause and let's get back into this conversation.
And I thought, how many opportunities have I missed out on? How many times have people said, I wish I could take a book of this speaker back with me? And then I thought, how many other people, forget about me, how many other professional speakers or entrepreneurs or business consultants, coaches, small business owners, how many of them have all of this great content, all of this terrific information that people crave? It's not enough to have information, but it has to be something people are wanting, and they haven't put it in a book. Press 49 was born 7 months later.
I want to highlight something that you said, because sometimes people are stressed out. I mean, they come to me for book writing coaching and they're stressed out about, what do I write about? Da, 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 da. And if there's someone who has content already, I'm like, repurpose your content. So I want to say, kids, don't try this at home. Let me break down. Hold on. Let me break down why this worked for Miss Bridgett, okay? Because it's easy to be like, oh, she just no. She wrote her book over years, to be really honest. And I'm not saying that you have to write over years, but she had a library of content. Do you have a library of content? Okay, if you have a library of content, then yes, you can focus within a couple of weeks and get a book done.
I'm glad that you make that point, Denise Renee, because yes, I try to wow the crowd by saying, "Oh, I got this done in a matter of weeks," but it was because I had years. For 3 years, I had been blogging and writing newsletters and articles and so on, and it wasn't with the intent of writing a book. And I want to emphasize that. As you think about, well, yeah, I've got content, but it wasn't written with a book in mind. I was not writing with a book in mind. What I did was like I said, I combed through and I pulled the best of the best. I looked at which of my blog posts or which of my LinkedIn articles got the most reactions, which pieces of content did my clients appreciate the most, what questions was I getting time and time again. And it was the content that addressed all of that checked all of those boxes. That's what I selected to go in the book. And you rewrite it, you rework it. No, I didn't print it exactly as it was because, again, I wasn't composing it with a book in mind at the time. Go through, look and see what it is your network loves. And you can, all these different platforms out there, you can take video, you can take audio, you create the transcripts, right? So find a platform, just get her done. You've got all kinds of content out there. Pull it together, figure it out, get it done.
I'm gonna need you to preach up in here today, okay? I'm gonna need you to let them know. You been a book coach up in this piece. One of my clients, I try to keep some of my clients' books around. One of my clients is a dating coach, and he had still has tons of content. And he came to me with transcripts of different things. And we were like, I was like, okay, we can't just like publish it as is. So we were able to like reorganize, put it into a framework, add stories to it, and boom, right? Now it's selling like hotcakes. So your advice is so spot on, and I love it. I'm eating it up. Okay. So, but there's something else that I wanted to also mention, and that is, I think the first way, this is your first book, this is your first time debuting the book. And honestly, to me, the way that I see the story is that the way that book got sold was because you were just so daggone good at what you do, right? That the book practically sold itself. So I love how the title is like so tightly woven into who you are, what you do, what you offer. You are out there demonstrating what it is that you do with being fabulous. And of course, the book sold. We didn't have to worry about book sales, but we want to dig into sales. So how did that book do for you? So obviously you sold out right then and there at the conference. Did you have another way for people to get access to the book immediately? Like, did you have it on Amazon? What was your process for self-publishing that book? Or did you go with like Lulu, or what'd you do, girl? What'd you do?
Exactly. So when I ran out of those copies, the bookstore ran out, I ran out of the few that I put in my suitcase, I was able to tell people that it's available on Amazon. It was available on Barnes and Noble, right? And so I would share that with them so they didn't feel like they were left out in the dust. Something that is really helpful, and I'm going to encourage authors to do this, is to create a QR code. And you can share that with people right there on the spot. Just whip it out, have it saved in your photos, saved in your favorites on your phone, so you can just quickly get to it. And then pull up that QR code that directs people to Amazon or directs people to Barnes and Noble, wherever your book is sold online. So that's one. Yes, those big online retailers' sites, it was available there. Also, it's available on my speaker site at bridgettmcgowen.com. And then finally, it's available on my publishing site, press49.com. But have it available in other places, because this is the thing. Unless you plan on just selling copies of your book out of the trunk of your car and you're not going anywhere else, then you don't have to worry about an ISBN. You don't have to worry about putting it on Amazon. But I need you to think bigger.
I need you to not lay me out.
I need you to assume that you might be out on the East Coast, but there could be somebody in Washington State who might want your book or who might be interested in what you have to say. I need you
in
to
the UK.
Even the UK. Our books, Press 49 books, as well as my own, have sold all around the world. When I was looking at our reports the other day, our sales reports, we're getting ready to roll out royalty payments this month. We pay twice a month, July and January. So I'm looking, I mean, our books have sold in the UK, they've sold in Australia, they've sold in Ireland, they've sold in Romania, they've sold in a number of places, they've sold in Italy. So they sold in India as well. I could go on and on and on. Don't assume that only the peeps in your zip code or in your family tree, those are the only folks who want to buy a copy of your book. And let me say this, don't rely on your family to buy. Let's say you do a second book. I've done 12. Let's say you do a second book. Family members buy the first one. They're not likely to buy the second one or the third one or the 12th one. It's not because they don't love you. They are not your audience. You're not solving a problem for them in your book. They'll buy the first one to be supportive, but please don't think that your family members and your friends are going to be the ones who buy every single thing that you offer, every webinar you offer, every consulting session. You know, just assume people outside of your neighborhood want and need the problem that you solve, or the solution to the problems that they have. Assume that. Put your books on Amazon. Also put them on Barnes & Noble. Amazon's not the only place that people go for books. They go elsewhere. So get that expanded distribution.
I'm about to break out my choir voice because
So
you preaching, and you preaching good.
So funny.
We get through the conference. You did start your publishing company. You said it was about 7 months after that. But how did that book help you in terms of, okay, so once you had, once you had that initial burst of sales at that event, what did you do to then further promote that book after that? And did that book help you get other speaking gigs?
Absolutely. So there were fabulous pre-sales and pre-orders from those family members and friends and so on and so forth. And people where I was like, I know they don't need to learn nothing about no presentation skills. They just being nice. So I had a lot of great pre-orders. Then there was the success at the conference. After that, I continued to talk about the book. Listen, everybody, if you're taking notes, write this one down. If you're watching the recording, pause it and then rewind it to this point. If you are not talking about your book, no one will know about your book. If no one knows about your book, no one can buy your book. You must incessantly talk about it. And when I say talk about it, I mean you are posting on social media. Maybe you're posting excerpts from your book. Maybe you're posting a little bit about the writing process that you went through. Maybe you're posting about a book signing you just had, or a conference you just spoke at, or some kind words that somebody said about your book, or a review, a great review that you got of your book on Amazon. Constantly post and talk about your book. You let people know what is the problem that your book solves. So after that conference, how I continued to get book sales was because I continued to talk about the book and I continued to appear at conferences. In terms of the opportunities that the book led to, here's the deal. If you're taking notes, zoom in on this one, everybody. It is not the sale of a $20 or $30 book that is going to make a difference in you being a published author. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people out there who are selling hundreds, if not thousands of copies of their books. And I say, hey, keep killing it. However, for the rest of the average authors out there, especially if you're self-published or if you go through an independent publisher or hybrid publisher, the average book is going to sell 250 to 500 copies in its lifetime. And when you do the math, you take out the cost of producing the book, because Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any other bookseller is going to take out the cost to produce the book, the ink, the paper, the glue, the binding. And then they're going to take a cut. Amazon's going to take 40% of what remains from that net sell of the book. Barnes & Noble and other retailers are going to take 55%. What's left is what you get in royalties. It's not a ton of money. How I capitalize on being a published author, and this is what I want you to do as well. Look at your book as a vehicle to other opportunities. This is what happens for me at conferences. People will see me present. They love the message. They'll buy a copy of the book. I had one lady at a conference in New Orleans in May of 2024 buy not one, not two, not three, but 6 copies of my book. So true story. I think I have a picture of her with them in her. I need to post that. I think I have a picture of her with those 6 books, and I'm sitting there signing all of them at the book signing. She's taking them back to decision makers at her company, people who can write not $20 checks, not $30 checks, but 4 and 5 figure checks. And then that's
how many of those checks? I'm sorry, say that again.
4 and 5 figure checks.
Okay.
Mostly 5 figure. Let's be very clear.
Mostly. Mostly. Okay, continue.
So I want you to think about the speaking opportunities, the trainings, the workshops, the masterminds, the merchandise, the opportunities and the revenue streams that can come from being a published author. Don't just focus on those book sales. Those are good. But what's even better is when you're able to enroll people in, let's say, a virtual mastermind, and they get a copy of your book, but then they also pay, let's say, $1,000 per seat to engage with you over the course of X number of weeks online to not one-on-one, but in a group setting, a virtual group setting with maybe about 4 or 5 other people, go through the content in your book and get deeper information and ask you the questions. In one of my books that published this year entitled Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One, I talk about passive and active revenue streams for authors to consider. I want you to look beyond the book sales and think about all the other things you could do as a result of being a published author that's going to generate money for you.
I want you to keep yourself composed. Okay.
So funny.
Because when somebody comes and just says all of the things that you stay saying, it's just, it's just, master class. Okay. Master class. Take your notes. Run this back. Okay. I actually also have a video on my that's about to come out. Well, as we're recording it, it's going to come out this week. So by the time this actually comes out, it'll be out. I'll put the thumbnail right here. 11 ways to monetize your book. It is more than just being about the book itself.
But
that's where the real money comes from, is the other opportunities.
If you do want to just be about the book, and I get it. Let me add this as food for thought. And I talk about this. My co-author, Allie Berthume, and I talk about this and Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One. Let's say your book has 12 chapters in it. I love this. I love this idea. It's so delicious. Let's say your book has 12 chapters in it. Let's say there's a person who doesn't necessarily want that whole book. They don't want all 12 chapters. You have maybe a chapter on, marketing and another chapter on something else. How about taking each one of your 12 chapters and making them mini books, mini ebooks? And let's say your 12 chapter book sells for $25, but you're going to sell each one of those mini ebooks, each one of those 12 chapter mini ebooks. You're going to sell each one of those for, let's say $5 each. So now a copy of your book that sells for $25 online actually sells for $60 because each one of your 12 chapters is being sold as a mini ebook for the person who just wants the focused content from each one of those chapters. I've done that. Denise Renee.
I grew up in church, right? So
I did too. Oh my God. So funny.
Or I'm gonna have to do this one. Because I'm laid out.
And I'm gonna come over. Hey, Denise Renee, and I'm gonna come over with the funeral fan, the fan that's sponsored by the local funeral home company, and fan you.
Wake me up. That is a new one. I have never heard that one, and I love it. Thank you for dropping the gems.
For sure.
Okay, listen. You're giving these people a little bit too much for free, a little bit too much for free, a little bit too much for free. Let's get back into your books. Okay. Let's get back into, and as much as you want to share, and I love that you're talking about, we finna print out some royalty checks. So I know you are definitely staying on top of the numbers of what you're selling for yourself and the other authors that you work with. Talk to us, because I know you haven't said this word, but I know what's in there. I know you must be doing bulk sales. You got to be doing some bulk sales.
Did you say bulk?
Bulk, BULK.
Absolutely. So one of our authors who published in July of 2023 had a ton of bulk sales because she was presenting at a number of conferences. I remember she was presenting in Denver, and then shortly after that, she was in San Diego. And then shortly after that, she had this webinar and was doing it for an organization. At any rate, yes, we do bulk sales. And what we do for our authors is if they have an organization that wants 100 copies or more of their book, we apply certain discounts. And then, of course, I've done my own bulk sales, but that author in particular comes to mind. Another one is getting ready to publish this year. His book is amazing, Kamala, the Motherland, and Me. We're doing some bulk sales for him. But there have been a number of authors where we do bulk sales. And I encourage you as an author to offer up that incentive to organizations and let them know, I will give you X percentage off the retail price if you purchase X number of copies of my book. I've done that when it comes to, let's say, an organization does not have it in their rules, we'll say, or policies that they can pay for a professional speaker, but maybe they can buy educational materials. So now they've got 500 copies of my book that they're putting in the swag bags of all of the attendees. My author price for my book is significantly lower. Those of you who are authors, you know this, is significantly lower than the retail price. So no, I may not get paid for that presentation. I'm not getting paid for that. But if you're able to buy 500 copies of my book, let's say it sells $30 a piece, do the math, and I'll give you, let's say 20% off retail.
Wait. We need to run this back. How much did you say you're going to offer to sell them?
Well, Real Talk, the second edition of Real Talk sells for $30 on Amazon. It's $29.99.
You sell them in bulk 500 at a time, 500 units at a time.
So that's $15,000 if I sell 500 copies of it. And then if I give them, let's say, a 10% discount, I still got $13,500. And it only costs me probably $5 or less than $5 per copy. So now I'm down to a profit of $12,500. Even giving them a 10% discount, I'd probably give more than a 10% discount, but just for the sake of easy math. Even if I give them a 20% discount, I'm still making over $10,000.
Bulk sales, y'all, bulk sales. So how do you set these deals up? So is it when you're getting, when you're in talks with them to come and do a presentation and they're like, well, we can't do da-da-da-da. But like you said, that little, we're going to swerve the rules there and we cut around them and say, but we can buy educational materials. So is it in conjunction with speaking gigs, or have you ever gotten bulk sales with an organization, maybe outside of a speaking gig? Like how do we hook this up? How do we do this?
Right, both. So it may be an organization. For instance, we had a school district in Texas that was very interested in copies of our award-winning book, Upward, Leadership Lessons for Women on the Rise. So they weren't interested in a speaking engagement. They just wanted to get copies of that book into their students' hands. So yes, we can set up the bulk sales there. Now, a couple of things in terms of the speaking engagement. When does that come into the conversation? Here's my magical question when I'm having those conversations. And we actually do this for speakers because talking about dollars and negotiating checks and stuff like that, it can feel kind of uncomfortable for the speaker. You like that great feeling that you've created in terms of them loving your topic and loving you and loving your passion. And then you have to shift gears and talk about money. It feels icky. So we do negotiating for speakers. So what I do, and this is my magical question, I will ask, do you have a budget for this engagement? And then if the answer is yes, the next question is, well, what is your budget? And that's when we start talking about, well, this, that, and the third. But let's say they don't have a budget. You need to arrive to that conversation knowing what else is of value to your company. I'll say that once more. Be prepared when someone reaches out wanting to book you for a speaking engagement because they think your book is the bee's knees. Be prepared that they may not have a budget. And in being prepared to hear, no, we don't have a budget, we don't have money for this, know what it is that is also of value to your company. What else besides currency? So is it their email list? Is it them buying copies of your book? Like, what can they buy? What can they pay for? And so for me, in some instances, it has been, they can buy a copy of my book for everybody who attends the conference where I'm going to be speaking. But I want to just kind of extend this a little bit further and say, think of what are some other things that might benefit your company, make things more advantageous for your company. Again, is it the email list? Is it being put in touch with another decision maker? Is it them making introductions between you and leaders of other organizations where they believe your message would be a good fit and maybe those other organizations can pay? So I want you to start thinking outside of just that $20 book sale, but what else is of value to you and your business?
I feel full. But we still have more to go into because you have more books. And it seems, the timeline, as I look through the timeline, I'm like, they just came 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, honey. Like we are in Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Don't get me started, okay? Don't get me started. Anyway, so how do we get into the other titles? And then I'd love for you, as much as you'd like to, get into the numbers of your own book and just, letting us know, because I would love to have people have something of, what, this is possible. Y'all, Bridgett is possible, okay? I'm gonna just let y'all in a little secret. She's my new spirit animal, okay? This is possible. So let us know how you got into the other books and then dive into the numbers.
The ideas just keep coming. If you're an author, if you're a creative, if you're an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, the ideas just don't stop. I know there are a lot of people out there who know exactly what I mean. Something will hit you at 2 a.m. and you're jotting it down or you're tapping it into the notes in your phone. And so for me, the additional books came because I had content that didn't necessarily fit with presentation skills. And I was just thinking, like, how else can I use this? I got bitten by a bug. When Real Talk sold out at that conference and people wanted more and I got positive reviews and then it won an award. You couldn't tell me a thing. You couldn't tell me anything before then, but you certainly couldn't tell me.
Nobody should.
So I started looking at other content because you'll remember when I was in corporate America and before corporate America, I spent a lot of time in higher ed. So as I'm looking at my content thinking, where does this go? That's how I came up with Rise and Sizzle. So again, the ideas just keep coming. And I encourage listeners to keep a file folder, and file folder can mean a physical notebook. It can mean an electronic tablet, whatever. Anytime you get an idea, jot it down, keep it in a place where you've just got this running list of content. And that's where the rest of the books come from. So the next one that I did was Rise and Sizzle, and I published it 6 months and 1 day later. So the first one was April 9th of 2019. And then the second one was October 10th of 2019. And then I started working with fellow professional speakers to create Own the Microphone, how 50 of the world's best professional speakers launch their careers and how you can too. So then I wasn't dependent on just my ideas, but I had the ideas of 49 other people, which is part of where the name Press 49 comes from. But keep those ideas anytime people ask you questions, anytime people look for advice, anytime you have clients that you're creating resources for. Keep all of that and you will keep creating ideas. That's one thing. The next thing is, don't stop and feel like you do your first book and that's it. You're like, "Whew, I'm done." What I want you to do, because this happened to me with a couple of my books. Shortly after publishing them, I thought about more stuff that I wanted to put in the book. Because again, doing the presentations, having the calls, having conversations like this with fellow book lovers and just rock stars, you keep getting ideas. Hence, you want to keep that file going. So yes, I published Real Talk, but you heard me at one point say it's in its second edition. So the first edition published in April of 2019, the second edition published in October of 2022, because I had so much new content. So the first book was about 40,000 words. The second one is something like 65,000 words. And I don't even have to think about it. I know there will be a third edition probably coming out in 2025, 2026, because I keep coming up with new ideas. And especially when the pandemic hit. In 2019, that book focused on Real Talk, focused on just presentations in general. But then when the pandemic hit and people were doing a lot of virtual presentations, that was part of the reason for me creating that new edition. So I made sure that I included content in there on how to make great webinars as well. So that's where the ideas come from. Keep talking to people. Keep engaging in your industry. Engage outside of your industry. The ideas are going to just slap you upside the head. Keep them in a safe place and think about how you can use them later.
I think that there's this quote from, I think her name is Marianne Williams. It's that quote that says, we are, and I'm going to botch this, I already know, but I'm going to find it and I'm going to put it on the screen correctly. But it basically communicates the idea that we are not even afraid of failing. We're really afraid of succeeding. And sometimes we can be afraid of being prolific. Like, people are going to look at us funny. So what? You know what? You know why they're looking at you funny? It's because they don't have the courage to do what you're doing. But anyway. Okay.
What if you fail? What if you fail? But oh my dear, what if you fly?
What if you succeed? And I think also another thing of long time ago, I heard that Stevie Wonder wrote, I guess in the height of his recording, he would write a song a day. That means 365 songs in a year. Did he publish all of them? Did they all make it on that, album? No, but it's about just having a whole collage of things so that when something comes up, you're like, oh, you know what? I have something for that. Or you can just keep putting it out if you want to. Like nowadays, if you don't want to go through the hassle of making everything a print book, I mean, it's not even a hassle. You can go print on demand. But you can keep, like you said, you can keep throwing up little ebooks, and see what catches, and then you expand on that. There's just so many different ways. I mean, myself, I'm constantly working on content. I'm always writing something. I'm always, getting it down. And like I don't think I'd be able to publish like everything I actually have, but the ideas are always coming. So I love that. So over the course of since 2019, let's get the numbers right. Since 2019, you published your first book. Now you're up to, did you say 14 titles?
12.
12. Okay.
Of my own.
Of your own. Okay. Well, maybe I'm prophesying. Maybe I'm prophesying because it's coming.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm cool with it.
How many units would you say you've sold of your books over the last 5 years?
Yeah, you're going to hate me for this.
No, we're not.
It's going to sound terrible. I don't know. Here's why.
What would you guesstimate?
Thousands easily. I don't know. Because I pay so little attention to that. It's not my goal. It's what comes of it. It's the transformation that people get. It's the booking, the speaking engagements, it's the workshops, it's everything that comes from being a published author. I know that's terrible for me to not know. Because I just don't pay it any attention. Like I was telling your listeners earlier, for me, it's not about how many copies of that $20 or $30 book I can sell, but it's about getting those bigger opportunities and how being this published author positions me to do things like have conversations with you, right? And then how many people do I reach out of these kinds of conversations? So I mean, I know I could say thousands, because when I think about the bulk orders that happen, that can be in the hundreds, when I think about the conferences that I attend, so my bad, I'll do better.
It's okay. I think I have one ear in the business world, and then I have another ear in the fiction world. So I listen to like a lot of podcasts about fiction writers, and they are like going hard on Amazon, and they're all into their numbers and things like that. So I have to keep remembering, like, no, the business crowd is not so much for that, but like you said, the opportunity. So let's reframe, click the question and say, how would you say having the book, your first book, and then the subsequent ones, how has that transformed your business, and how has it gone from, I can only imagine that from your early days of like, putting the foot to the gas and not letting up. At this point, I can only imagine that you probably coast because you have so much inbound coming in. So how would you say your books have impacted your business and your business's bottom line?
Right. So when you think about reaching out to prospects, oftentimes we send a lovely email message, or maybe we'll give people our business card. Well, my book and the books of our authors are elevated business cards. So being able to hand over your book to someone who's a potential client makes a huge difference in comparison to your average business card. So it really has put me in a position to be able to demonstrate to the world that I am an expert in that field, not just by being a published author, but also by being an award-winning published author. Because when you win awards, it says, well, not only do I think my book is pretty hot stuff, but there's this panel of judges, or there are these organizations who also think that. So in terms of how it has transformed my career, and let me be very clear, a lot of professional speakers might not tell you this, it's still a lot of work, even after you get the books and even after you get the great engagements. And I've spoken for some pretty important organizations. I've spoken for the CDC. I've spoken for the Social Security Administration. They've hired me. So has Kentucky Fried Chicken. So has a number of organizations. I've spoken for New York University, NYU. I'm trying to think. CenterPoint Energy. Oh, we don't want to talk about CenterPoint Energy right now. Okay, scratch that. Oh, sorry. But a number of large organizations have hired me, partially because I have demonstrated that I'm an expert in my industry. And that book, or those books, are elevated business cards. So in terms of transforming your career and transforming your opportunities and what's available to you, really use that book to leverage yourself as the go-to in your space. It will make all the difference in the world. Don't forget about your book. After you've written it and after you've put it out there and you've published it, a lot of times people feel like, oh my goodness, I've done all of this work. It was so hard writing it and getting it edited and just doing all the things. You want to take a break, but you can't. Remember, I said earlier, if you're not talking about your book, nobody's going to know about it. And if nobody knows about it, they can't buy it. I'm going to add on to it. If they can't buy it, they can't hand it off to a decision maker who can then hire you for a more lucrative opportunity. In terms of the transformation, Denise Renee, it's just been incredible. Because it's one thing for me to say, these are the things that I do, or this is what I speak on, or this is the transformation I can bring about in your company. But it's another thing when I've got books to back it up.
I want to ask one more question and then I will let you go. And it is let you go because I could keep you here for a long time.
And I would stay too because I love talking about books.
Let's talk about awards. No one who I've interviewed so far has, I mean, it's no shade to anybody, has had awards. So I'd love to know, were those awards that you were aware of and you applied for and you won, or did those award committees reach out to you? Did the book just float into somebody's hand somewhere and it was like you got a call, by the way, you're nominated? How did that process happen, and how can people be how can authors be a little bit more intentional about maybe seeking them out?
Yes, 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 yes. So I know for the books, all of those were awards that I submitted to organizations to be considered for, right? So and let me be very clear. You see all the glitz and glam and all the wins and all the positivity on social media. People don't talk about the losses and the fails. So for every award that I've won, there were probably 2 or 3 applications that I submitted where I didn't win or I didn't hear anything. Now, some of the awards that I've won, I'm just going to try to remember them off for the books. I'm going to try to remember those off the top of my head. For speaking, I did not apply for those. Those just, I don't want to say just kind of landed in my lap, but the ones that I can remember, I did not apply for those, but we're not talking about speaking awards. For book awards, one is, and I've got to look at it, I'm looking at 3 of them from here. One of them is the Next Generation Indie Book Awards. Okay. What I really like about those, and this is going to sound so vain, but it is what it is. What I like about Next Generation Indie Book Awards is if you win, you get a medal. Like, okay, like it looks
like you small miles.
And let me tell you, right. I was at a book signing in
You gonna put it on there, like do that pose that she did. Don't get me started. I love gymnastics, but go ahead. Go.
I was at a conference. It was the American Library Association conference in San Diego, late June, early July, 2024. And I, along with several other authors, had book signings there. There was this one particular author, and she had her Next Generation Indie Book Award medal on her during her book signing. And I said, oh my goodness, I absolutely love that. And, she starts bragging and going on. Now, my son and I co-authored a book earlier in 2024. It's called What's Worrying Darwin. So he was there with me getting ready for the book signing. We were going to sign his book.
What was your son?
And so, she was like, oh, yes, I got this or whatever. She's bragging. And I looked at my son. He's 10. I said, yeah, we're familiar with the organization. We have 3 of those at home, don't we, sweetie? I couldn't resist. I'm not the type to gloat, Denise Renee. I'm really not.
Well, if you don't talk about it, who will?
Thank you. Right. But I just had to let her know, no, we're not wearing our medals, but trust and believe the next time I'm at a book signing, I will. Thank you for the idea. But that's so not my character. And I couldn't believe it when it came out of my mouth. But I did need to let her know, okay, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 of those at the house. So next generation Indie Book Awards is one. Another one is the Book Fest. I believe they have entries 2 or 3 times a year. So check out Book Fest, and that's just one word. Another one is Best Indie Book Awards, or BIBA, B-I-B-A. That's a third one to check out. So those are the 3 that I can remember off of the top of my head. This is what I'm going to tell you. Reach out to me at connectwithb.com, or find me on LinkedIn, what have you, right? And I will send you the list. We have a pretty extensive list of book awards for people to consider. Some do have an entry fee, others don't. Some of them have deadlines for when you can enter and very strict parameters, others don't, so on and so forth. I'm happy to share our list. I don't know how many organizations we have on that list with us being a publishing company. And I'm happy to share it with you. But yes, I applied for the awards that my books have won. And that was how it worked for me. And again, I didn't win all of them. Let me think. Which one was it? Yeah, Real Talk. I submitted it for, I know, more than one award. The second edition of Real Talk. And, let's say we submit at least 2 or 3. Well, it only won one of those 2 or 3 applications, but that's just how it works. I mean, in business, that's why you keep the pipeline full. That's why you keep the opportunities coming in, because for every yes, we all know how this goes. You're wading through all kinds of no's. And let me add this. Stop looking at a no as an absolute no. NO stands for next opportunity. So this didn't work out. Whatever it was, whether it was their budget, whether it was your message, maybe it was the timing, it could be all kinds of things. Don't take things personally, and follow up if you get a no. Follow up. I have an email message where I will ask people, especially if it sounds like they're like ready to sign on the dotted line, they're ready for a contract. I'm confused if I get a no. So I will follow up and say, well, was it the budget? Was it the timing? Was it the topic? Because I want to remain competitive. I'll add that. I want to remain competitive. So the next time I am putting myself out there, I can't remember the word that I'm looking for right now, but the next time I'm putting myself out there, I need to know so I can make sure I'm remaining competitive. So ask people, why was it a no? No shade. You're just wanting to grow in your business and make sure that you are able to secure the deal next time, and you know how to make sure that you're more competitive.
I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna just stop. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm almost about to cry. As much as I cut up. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you have shared so generously and for free 99, y'all. So y'all better run. Y'all better run. Okay, run the count up on this YouTube video. Run it back. But I mean, it's not just for me; it's for everybody. So I love that, the generosity that you have for just planting seeds to just be so helpful. So what are the best ways that people can reach you personally? And then what if there's an author who is pretty advanced in their book, they're ready to get published? See, I only help people with their words. Publishing is not my ministry. So I like to be able to, now you're going, your publishing company is going on my personal list of refers, because some people don't want to do everything by themselves. And so they're like, well, they do ask me like, well, who do you recommend? If they're in Atlanta, I have my go-to for there, but you're going on the list. But so if people want to connect with you, let us know how to connect with you individually. And then how do we connect with your publishing company?
For authors who are ready to publish, or you think you're ready to publish, or you have questions about it. Let's say you have not written one word and you just want to understand, hey, Bridgett, what is the difference between self-publishing, vanity press, hybrid, traditional? I will sit down and have a full-blown conversation with you and answer all the questions. So no matter where you are in your authorship journey, visit press49.com. Book a no obligation call with me, and I am happy to answer all of your questions. Press49.com. Now, to just connect with me, because you found me to be awesome sauce, please visit connectwithb.com. Connectwithb.com. I have all of my social media handles there, as well as my email addresses are there, as well as links to my podcasts and so on. So however you want to connect with me, you'll find it on connectwithb.com. And then if you're thinking about publishing, want to publish again, want to start writing, doesn't matter. Go to press49.com.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so very much. You guys and gals, we'll see you writers in the next one.